Happy 2021, everyone. We made it. I hope this year has some wonderful things in store for you. And as we look ahead, our very own Jackie Hammock is our speaker today, and she wants to help us think through New Year's resolutions and goal setting and really break it down to something that's not going to be one more thing on our to-do list or one more thing to overwhelm and stress us out, but something that is hopefully encouraging and attainable as we look forward to the new year. I hope you enjoy, and I hope it speaks to you like it spoke to me.
Hello, fellow Lily Moms. My name is Sonja Krentz, and 2020 has really been an inarguably different year for many of us. I'm here to share one good thing that I've gained out of this year. And as someone who does not enjoy change, this year has certainly been one from the ectopic pregnancy that I suffered early in the year and the loss of my child to the COVID shutdowns and the loss of so many friends and younger friends. This year has been so deeply challenging. So many relationships have been strained this year, from that marital to ones with our children as we struggle to stay at home with them. I just have one, but even there is struggle, believe you me. And just relationships in the nation, relationships all over the world. The wearing of masks, the not wearing of masks, even seeing humanity struggle through a pandemic and making decisions, just seeing the humility or lack thereof of leaders in the midst of our world crisis has taught me more deeply how to have the fear of God and more exactly how vulnerable we are as humans, how needful we are and how we were created to need Him, and that only God can answer our deepest needs. Sometimes as an American, I feel very independent. I feel able to control my environment and situation for the most part. And I very much forget to be grateful and forget that I am not the power at the end of the day. But this year has taught me to have greater appreciation for God and deeper reverence for Him, even in His sovereignty, as He alone determines the expiration date and the length of the race each of us are called to run. And so in 2021, one thing that I'm excited for is to carry this appreciation for God and reverence of Him to a deeper level of sobriety, of emotional health, and of obeying Him with a deeper trust. So I'm not sure what that's going to look like. I don't have any specific or what are they called, resolutions, but I just know that I go with my God, and He has always gone with me. And I hope that I can give you that same assurance, that you have that same assurance, that He is always with you, that He will never leave you or forsake you. And there's no one else that is necessary in the equation. This has been a painful year, but out of this crucible, God has wrought many beautiful things, many things that are still in process, and that He's working that work of perfection in us. And I pray that we hope in our God. We hope in the God who made us. We hope in the God that sent His only Son to die for us, and who continues to sustain us till the everlasting day. And thank God 2020 is over.
Hi friends, Happy New Year. I'm coming to you from my parents' garage because it's the quietest place in the house. For those of you who don't know me personally, my name is Jackie Hammock. I've been involved in this group since my middle daughter was a newborn, which makes this my 8th year at MOPS/Lily Moms. My husband of 16 years, Russell, and I have 3 daughters. Emma is 9, Grace is 7, and Lily is 4. As I was preparing to speak today, I wanted to use this time to talk with you about things that I need to hear. I'm not speaking from a position of authority by any means, but rather a position of dedicated student and researcher. So I figure that as moms of young children yourselves, you might be able to identify with my struggles as we learn together. I wanted to acknowledge my 3 main resources. The first one is the Bible, and then the other 2 were both written by a writer and motivational speaker named John Acuff. If you have not heard of him, he's worth looking up. The books that I am referencing are called Start, and the other book is Finish. And I'm not necessarily going to say this is from this book or this is from that book as I'm speaking to you today, but know that a lot of the knowledge and wisdom that I'm bringing to you has come from either of those 2 sources or from the Bible. So here's what I've come up with. I'm going to talk about what perfectionist moms need to hear in the new year. Today happens to be New Year's Day, but you may be listening to this on some other day, and that's fine too. So I self-identify as a recovering perfectionist, and it's still a daily challenge for me. You may not see yourself this way, and if that's the case, I would love to learn your secrets. PM me. But for my purposes today, I'm going to speak about perfectionist in fairly relatable terms. My working definition of perfectionism for this talk is the feeling of disappointment and dissatisfaction that comes when our expectations don't match up with reality. I think we all experience areas in our lives where our expectations don't match our reality. These struggles are prime candidates for the infamous New Year's resolution. You can fill in the blank. You've thought them, written them, or said them before. Today, this is the year I'm finally going to eat healthy, be a kinder, gentler mom, start that home business I've been dreaming of, lose the baby weight, get out of debt. Research agrees that about 80% of New Year's resolutions fail. So where does that leave us? If there's something or things in our lives that need to change, where do we start and how do we finish what we've started? First of all, please bear in mind that it is never too late to make a change. There's nothing magical about New Year's Day, or the first day of the month, or Monday. It's easy to feel like you've missed a window if you don't figure it out by a self-imposed deadline. But the best time to make a change, honestly, is when you're fed up with your present reality. Dave Ramsey calls it being sick and tired of being sick and tired. He's a financial guy. When you get to that point, being sick and tired of being sick and tired, it doesn't matter if it's January 1st or June 27th. When you're ready to make a change, it can happen at any time. I'll give you a quick for instance. As long as I can remember, I have been a nail biter. When I was little, my dad would paint my nails to discourage me from biting them. It didn't make a difference. Over the years, I tried to quit. I knew it was gross, but I kept on through high school and college. When I got married, I had to wear fake French nails. It wasn't until May 2nd, 2011, that I was finally ready to make a change for real. That's the day my oldest daughter, Emma, was born. I said to myself, Emma's mommy does not chew her nails. And you know what? Emma's mommy didn't and hasn't for over 9 years. I know they're short, but I haven't chewed on them for 9 years. For me, becoming a mom, that realization was all it took to finally make a change. Years later, I read an article talking about the commonality between most people who bite their nails. Do you know what it was? The common trait identified among nail biters is perfectionism. Another thing that can sabotage us before we even start is fear. I can get paralyzed when I'm about to do something new, not knowing where to begin. But when it comes to making changes and setting goals, fear can make us think illogically. As John Acuff says in his book Start, he says, fear tends to argue both sides of the coin. What he means by that is that fear says two things. It'll say, you can't do it, but it will also say, well, if you're gonna do it, you have to do it perfectly and you have to do all of it. And that doesn't make sense. Which one is it? Either I can't do it or I can do it. So fear tells us that you can't, but if you do it perfectly. So I know that if I can do it, it doesn't have to be perfect. Now this is something that I need to hear because I tend to procrastinate until I have time to do something perfectly. And honestly, how often do moms of little people have time for that? So let me encourage you with a little logical thinking. You can do anything, but you can't do everything. And anything that's worth doing is worth doing badly at first. I think as moms, we can all relate to the amount of time and patience it takes to learn a new skill or build a new habit. Let's think about how our children's lives start out. We hold our desperately helpless, vulnerable, incapable newborn infants in our arms and love them with the deepest parts of our souls, not because of what they can do or the words of affirmation that they offer us or the financial security that they provide, but because they are ours. We watch them, cheer them on, and as they struggle to roll over, to sit up, to pull up to standing, to walk, to run. We understand that all of these milestones take time and effort, trial and error. We don't expect our little ones to learn these skills within days of coming home from the hospital. It's impractical, it's ridiculous. But we tend to expect so much from ourselves when we are doing something we have never done before, or trying to break a habit we've been doing for a long time. If we can understand these concepts as they relate to our children, there is no reason we can't apply them to ourselves. So in the Bible, Paul talks to the church at Ephesus about how they should expect their lives to be different when they become followers of Jesus. So in Ephesians 4:22 through 24, he says, "Put off your old self, which belongs to your former manner of life and is corrupt through deceitful desires, and be renewed in the spirit of your minds, and put on the new self, created after the likeness of God in true righteousness and holiness." This biblical concept tells us that if we desire to make a change in our lives, there are two essential parts. We turn away from old behaviors, or put off old behaviors, and fill the void left behind, or put on new behaviors. So I'm going to spend the rest of our time today talking about a few things that we need to put off and put on in order to set goals that will lead to necessary and lasting changes in our lives. When I talk about goals, I like to use the tried and true SMART goal acronym. SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. So here are a few examples. You might say, I will read to my children for 30 minutes, 5 days a week. or I will plan 4 healthy meals a week, every week for a month. Or before I watch any TV on weeknights, I will spend up to 20 minutes clearing off a catch-all area in my home. I know we all have those. So here's what we need to put off, and here's what we need to put on. The first one is don't go at it alone. I sometimes feel like if I set a new goal for myself, it's better to keep it quiet so that I'm the only one who's disappointed if I don't succeed. But that's not really the best mindset. The problem with that is that we're built for community, for bearing one another's burdens. And it may very well be that something that I'm working through is the exact same thing that someone else I know is struggling with too. So rather than trying to do it by myself, it's important that I hold myself accountable with help. So for bigger goals, I would recommend that you tell at least one other person. It could be your husband, it could be a friend, a family member, but having someone check in with you is a great way to stay motivated because you know they're gonna ask you how it's been going and you wanna be honest with them. So it's just a great way to keep yourself accountable. For smaller goals, try writing them down. There's a certain level of satisfaction that I know I get when I write something down and then I can cross it off at the end of the day, or when I can check something is completed off of my to-do list on my phone. Plus, having a written reminder is a great way to keep your mind in order and to prioritize what you're going to do in a day. And then finally, use data to stay on track. So some goals are more number-based than others, like lose 5 pounds, save $100, sleep 8 hours a day. With those goals, you can find apps. They're all over the place, or other ways to track your progress. I've even seen really cute journals where someone will track like their emotional state for a day, you know, with like a happy face or a smiley face or, you know, sad or whatever. But tracking your emotions can sometimes be very revealing. And also sometimes it feels like you might not be getting anywhere, but when you look back at where you started, you can see how far you've come. So the next thing that we need to put off is perfectionism. Putting these on a little crooked, it's driving me crazy, but case in point. So perfectionism is not the same as excellence. It can actually be an obstacle to success because it pushes you to reject mistakes and imperfections, and it makes you want to quit rather than trying again just because something isn't perfect. So rather than waiting until you have the perfect goal or the perfect plan, it's much better to just start with an imperfect goal and then refine it along the way. And then also beware of the might as well trap. Thinking, well, since I've already messed up, I might as well just quit. Because remember what I said earlier about how it's never too late to make a change? The same thing applies when it comes to trying again. So rather than trying to aim for perfection, I want you to give yourself grace. By embracing imperfection and celebrating incremental progress, no matter how small, you're more likely to survive the bumps in the road to reach the finish line. So set reasonable expectations. Perfectionist prompts us to overstretch. We believe that we must go big or go home, and then we feel bad about setting small goals. But the beauty of a small goal is that it seems more achievable. Woo-hoo. And each time you complete a goal, you feel more motivated to keep going. So to make sure that your goal is the right fit for you, consider cutting your goal in half or breaking it into smaller pieces. For example, you might have a goal to clean the whole garage, but maybe start with the goal of organizing one wall of the garage or one shelf of the garage, And then, you know, once you've got that done, you can move on to something else. Or if you're trying to get healthy, maybe don't make your first goal to run a half marathon. Try a couch to 5K instead. Small steps can lead to big things. I also find great encouragement in the Bible when I read Lamentations 3:22 through 23. In Lamentations, it says, "The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning." So if God's mercies renew every day, surely I can give myself grace as I'm striving to meet a goal. And then finally, thing that we need to put off is don't listen to your heart. And if you're a child of the 80s like I am, that goes contrary to the popular Roxette song. But the truth of the matter is we can't always trust our hearts. I have a friend who puts it this way. This emotion that you're feeling is real, but it might not be true. We can feel a certain way, but that doesn't mean that the fear, doubt, or helplessness that you are feeling is actual reality. Remember that illogical fear I mentioned earlier? Listening to your fears can lead you to discouragement before you ever begin. So let's take a look at what the Old Testament prophet Jeremiah has to say about our hearts. This is from Jeremiah 17:9, and it says, "The heart is deceitful above all things and desperately sick. Who can understand it?" So if we can't listen to our hearts, what should we be doing instead? Instead of listening to our hearts, we need to talk to ourselves. Anytime we try new things, there are going to be times when we don't get it right. When you do slip up, I would encourage you to give yourself critical feedback the way you would talk to a friend. If you wouldn't talk to a friend that way, then don't talk to yourself that way. Also, in order to speak truth into your heart and mind, you need to know what is true. One excellent way is to go to the source. In his high priestly prayer, Jesus asked God, this is from John chapter 17, verse 17, "Sanctify them in truth. Your word is truth." So studying God's word is the best way I can think of to introduce our minds and our hearts to the truth about who God is, who we are, and our purpose here on earth. And then finally, when you talk to yourself, remind yourself that you are not alone. In Lily Moms, we are here for each other. Your discussion group leaders, your mentor moms are excellent resources. This community learns and grows together, which is a truly beautiful thing. So I hope that these have been some practical things that you can put into practice for 2021. Together, we can make small changes that lead to big things for our families and our futures. You can do it. And I'll leave you with one final thought. There's no way to be a perfect mother, but there are a million ways to be a good one. Thanks, friends.